Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Friday, May 17th, 2019, 6:26 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. So I have the GO satellite up here for the west coast of the United States, Pacific Southwest, and I have 48-hour loop on. You can choose from 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72, 84, and 96 hours. So we can kind of see what's going on as far as cloud cover, the next storm system that's coming in, and kind of what's going on for all of California. And this is, everyone's kind of on pins and needles wanting to see what's going on, and it's hard to know. The first round of the weather has passed, and the lake level at Oroville is still rising. They have not opened the main spillway yet. They said they were not going to open it until it reached 900, which it's really high because the top of the emergency spillway is 901 feet. So if we look at the latest, you have to click latest twice for it to refresh. At 6 o'clock, the lake level was at 890.87 feet. And it's been at that level for the last 3 hours. And that's the first time since the rain that it has not gone up. And they have increased the outflow, and they're only using the Hyatt power plant for the outflow, but they have increased the outflow to about 11,500. The inflow is right now about 11,324. It did get up to 17,833. This is cubic feet per second. That was at the 4 o'clock reading this afternoon. So I'm going to chart this while I'm at it. And, people really have to do their own research and decide for themselves what they're going to do in a situation like this. And there's snow coming in over the passes. So in this next system, it's going to be quite a bit of snow. Let's change our loop to 96 hours. That's 7 days. Here it goes. Here's that big system that's coming in. So even at the end, we can see another system coming in. No, that's not 7 days. I'm having a brain fart. Let's see. 96 divided by 24. That's 4 days. So there is going to be another system coming in next week. And so we're still seeing a lot of cloud cover. And there's going to be precipitation coming with this. It won't be continuous, but it will come in waves. And the way I got to this was from Climate Reanalyzer. I went to Climate Reanalyzer and clicked on radar, US radar, and then clicked on this, the NOAA GOES image viewer. That's how I got to that. So there are a lot of good resources here on Climate Reanalyzer. I also have up, this is that precipitation animation that I showed yesterday, and there by the end of by May 27th, 10 days out, this is what they're showing as accumulated precipitation. In the Sierra Nevadas, it's going to be in the purples, and Lake Oroville is just on the west side of the Sierra Nevadas over in California. So it could be in the light blue to purple range. So it could be, I'm thinking they're going to get around 3 to 4 inches of precipitation out of the next 2 rounds that are coming in. So I also found out, I want to correct some information. I had heard that 1 inch of rain would raise the lake level by 12 feet. And I've been in Susan Walding's chat room, and a lot of knowledgeable people are in there, and they say that because as the lake gets higher, the surface becomes more, and so it spreads out more. The water has more surface to cover for the rise, and so one person said that they thought an inch of rain would equal about a 4-foot rise, and then someone else said from what was it, Tropical Tidbits, that 1 inch of rain equals a 10-foot rise. So really nobody knows. The bottom line is nobody knows, because it depends on how much of the area gets rain and how much rain, and what the watershed area is like, how saturated the ground already is before you get the rain, how cold it is, whether it comes down mainly as snow, mainly as rain, is it going to come down mainly as snow that melts off later that could cause a problem later? If it melts too soon, it's like nobody knows. But we do know that the lake level right now is at 890.87 feet, and it's probably going to be at 891 by morning, by midnight. So we're 10 feet away from the top of the emergency spillway. So, they're just kind of playing with Russian roulette here. Here is the 10-day outlook for Oroville from Weather Underground, and they're showing here it is from Friday, with it being mostly cloudy. They didn't get rain today because we're in between storm systems. The next system is coming in tomorrow, Saturday, and they're expecting 100% chance of rain, and they're expecting about an inch of rain, and the rain's going to start, it looks like, late morning. This is showing around 11 a.m. and it's going to rain through the day and into Sunday, and then Monday is showing a break and with partly cloudy and sunny, and then more rain showers on Tuesday next week, and then it's showing sunny Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday. So it looks like, according to this, and all the different modeling systems are different, if we can just kind of get through this Tuesday period without too much precipitation and some kind of levee breaking or something overflowing somewhere, they might be okay. But I'm telling you, this pins and needles stuff is just about to put me over the edge, because I'm empathic and I'm feeling all this, and I've been reporting on this for over a month now. So here's what it looks like on NASA Worldview. Oh, I'm on the wrong month. I'm like, why is there no cloud there? Here it is from today. We can see that it is cloudy here. The whole region is cloud covered. Doesn't mean it's raining all over the place. Here's Mount Shasta. Let's see. Let's kind of get oriented here. Here's Reno. Here's Chico. And so this is Lake Oroville right down here in the clouds. So we can see it's like partly cloudy, but here is this next system moving in, this thing that I called a scorpion's tail yesterday. It's like a big whip, and then after that system we have this other system moving across from the Pacific. So that's kind of what's going on. Okay, now I've got some things to share. And first of all, I want to go over a comment. This is from SuChick1. She left it under my video from yesterday. She says, under Oroville Dam, can't find shit on it. Why so quiet? We're worried. No news, not even local. Well, SuChick1, the reason you can't find shit about it is because the algorithms have been tweaked, and when you go in and do a search, the only things that are going to show up are from the mainstream media on this stuff, which is from Oroville, from DWR in Blanco Lirio, aka Juan Brown, he's kind of their spokesperson. And if you want to find other people reporting on it, you have to type in Oroville update or Oroville Dam, and then put the date, today's date, and then you have to scroll down and go through maybe a page or two, and you'll see some other channels that are reporting. But I put a link, I put some links. These are some of the channels that I subscribe to, and they are providing updates. There are other channels out there providing updates too. So I just recommend you go check all these out. So Trumpet News is one of them, and Robert reported on Oroville 2 years ago, and he was advising people to evacuate a week before they finally told people to evacuate. And he was tracking the water levels and everything, and it was very similar as to what's happening now. The officials were saying, oh, everything's fine, everything, no problem, and then all of a sudden they had a problem. So here's his channel. Then Oroville Dam Watch Group, they were reporting. This was Marty D'Angelo, and DWR got a court injunction against them to make them stop. Their channel is still up with old reports and other links in the video descriptions, links to other good channels. So here's the link to their channel. And so my thought is, if everything is so good, why do they not want Oroville Dam Watch Group going up there and taking pictures and doing reporting from up there? If everything is fine and so perfect, why why did they go to the trouble of getting a court injunction making them to stop? You know, that raises a red flag for me. Susan Walding has a live stream running with a chat where you can find out more information. Here's that link. And a lot of people from these other channels show up in this chat room, and you will get, now these are the wackadoodles, and it's basically two camps. You got the wackadoodles and then you've got the authorities. And so we're the wackadoodles, and we're the ones who are trying to bring information that we can find to people so that they can make up their own minds. So here's Millie K's YouTube channel. Now Millie K is from Oroville, and she had to evacuate 2 years ago, and she got out. She was watching the wackadoodles. She was watching Trumpet News and some of the others, and decided to evacuate before the order came, and she got out before the crowd. And then since then, she's become quite an expert in dams, and she did a whole bunch of study and research, and her YouTube channel is excellent, and she's put together a whole bunch of instructional videos showing how the dam works and what goes on there. And her most recent video is about the reservoirs that feed into Lake Oroville and into the Feather River, and it's really good, so I recommend her channel. Ridrad is doing reporting from information he can find. There's his channel. Static in the Attic is doing reporting from what they can find. There's his channel. Scott Cahill was one of the he's a dam expert. He's a contractor, and he goes in and fixes broken dams. That's his expertise, and he's from Ohio, and he investigated the Oroville situation when it happened. And so here's his YouTube channel, and he has a bunch of videos where he talks about exactly what went wrong and what kind of repairs needed to be done and how they should be doing them, and his unbiased opinion. And there are more too, but here are links that you can start with. But and also in my videos, in the description, I leave links below to what I talk about, and also it'll be under my show links. And here are my show links from today. And Robin Westenra is from New Zealand. He's a friend of mine from New Zealand, and he does excellent blogging, and he started blogging about the Oroville situation, and he brings together different resources you can look at. Here are the different links to the different data for news and weather, and also to check the water levels right here. And these my show links today are there's a short video that was just posted. It's called Dam Fails in Heart of Texas Hill Country. Now we're going to watch this real quick, and this is a complete spillgate failure, and this happened in Texas on Tuesday this week. Just in case people want to see what a spillgate failure looks like, this will blow your mind. And we're going to turn the sound down. It's a very short, it's only 30 seconds. And watch this. Here's the water coming over. Get ready. Look at that. Look at that whole section. just breaks loose, and then the whole lake starts flooding over. That was called a spill gate failure. So, you want to watch it again? Let's watch that again. It looks like the water is just flowing right over the dam, that it got so high and then it just busted loose. And so, because what happens when the water gets that high and it's coming with so much force and pressure, if you have any weakness in the construction, it'll just bust right out. And there are other dams that are failing around the country. And this is from the Guadalupe Blanco River Authority, and they experienced a spill gate failure Tuesday morning. It was caught on camera. So I'll leave the link below for that. So this is real. This is real stuff, and it's very serious. And the problem is, we don't know enough about dams in the first place. It's like it's an art, and they're very, you have to be an expert in all this. And what Scott Cahill was saying was that a dam is, the whole system is called the dam. The whole operating system is considered the dam. And you've got the dam itself, you've got the main spillway, you've got the gates, you've got the emergency spillway. It's all considered part of the dam. And if one part fails, the dam fails. And so when they try and wordsmith something and say, well, it was only the spillway that failed, well, the spillway is an integral part of the whole dam system. Now I'm going to cover a couple of articles, and what I've been doing, since I couldn't get new news that easily, I've been looking back through what happened with the failure in 2017 and the reports that came out, and I've gotten a lot of information. Now apparently also there was an inspection that was done this spring. I'm not sure if it was April or March, and the results of the inspection have not been released publicly, and so we don't know what was recommended to DWR as far as last minute fixes or what's going on, but nobody knows. Well, I think Marty knew, and he was holding off on releasing that to see what DWR was going to do as far as fixes, but then they shut him down, so he can't report anymore. So that's another thing where there's lack of transparency with what's going on. And if they just came out and said, listen, we know we've had problems and we're working on fixing them, and here's where we're at right now, instead of just seeing a porta potty sitting on the spillway when you're looking at the live cam, that does not instill confidence. Seriously. When you got the water level up, rising up to 900 feet, and you've got a porta potty sitting on the top of the spillway. Seriously. So anyway, what we're looking at here, this is a picture of Bob B. He was an investigator. He's an engineer. He's not just any engineer. He is top notch. He's been doing this for 55 years. He's in his 80s now. He's retired. He's a professor emeritus from the University of California at Berkeley. He's got a PhD. This is his specialty. He goes in and investigates catastrophes. He was hired to investigate at Hurricane Katrina. He was hired to investigate the Horizon BP oil disaster. He was hired to investigate the Challenger. I mean, he's the man. If you want to get to the bottom of what went wrong in a disaster, he's the man. And so this is an article from Berkeley, California, that was done a couple of years ago, and it's a really good it's an interview with Bob B. about the Oroville and the report, and there's a link in here if you want to see his 124-page report. You just click there, and here's the report, and it's on a Google Drive along with a whole bunch of articles, and it's called Root Causes Analyses of the Oroville Dam Gated Spillway Failures and Other Developments. And here's him and all of his credentials, and then his associate Tony Johnson did the investigation. The date of the report was July 20th, 2017. This is a PDF file, and you can download it. I've downloaded it, I've read it. Most of it is references, but I recommend if people want to see what all was wrong, but because it wasn't just the spillway. They found problems with the gates and with the design and all kinds of things. And anyway, so I'm going to share this article. Let's see if there are any other pictures to see here. No, I'm going to go to Clean View because it's just easier for me to read. Bob B. takes us on a deep dive through his dire Oroville report. Oh, and there was another team that did another investigation, and their report was 500 and some odd pages, and I downloaded that, and they concurred with Bob B.'s report and made recommendations for fixes. Now, the problem is we don't know what was fixed. We don't know because we don't know the results of the latest inspection. It's not being released to the public. It's just not. So to just take DWR's word for it and say, oh, we fixed everything, it's satisfactory and everything is fine, considering they own the dam and they regulate the dam, so they don't have, the only outside force they have is FERC, Federal Emergency Regulatory Commission. And so, if FERC isn't on them all the time, when you're self-regulated like that, a lot of things can happen that shouldn't happen. Then it becomes a good old boy system, and they just do what they do. Like everyone else, Bob B. was appalled when almost 200,000 Californians living below Oroville Dam were ordered to flee for their lives on February 12th. This is from 2017. The evacuation was necessitated by severe erosion of the dam's primary and emergency spillways caused by massive releases of water following torrential winter rains. But unlike most citizens, B knew the incident wasn't engendered strictly by the vagaries of nature or an act of God. Human error was at play. A UC Berkeley engineering professor emeritus, that means he's retired, one of the nation's foremost forensic engineers and the founder of Berkeley Center for Catastrophic Risk Management, or CCRM, B had long been worried about the design and management of the dam. He expressed those concerns to a State Department of Water Resources DWR engineer while visiting the Oroville site in April. Now this is April 2017. The engineer opined that fixes DWR was making to the spillways were sufficient to stabilize the structure. B vigorously disagreed, countering DWR was downplaying the risks. Now I wish they would have put the year. I'm assuming it's 2017. Now hang on. Let's just double check the date of this article. I saw it. I think it's at the bottom. July 27th, 2017. So it was right after the report came out. So when it says April in here, it was April of 2017. So B vigorously disagreed, countering DWR was downplaying the risks. B and CCRM colleague Tony Johnson then launched an exhaustive study of the Oroville incident. The document resulting from that inquiry, Root Causes Analyses of the Oroville Dam Gated Spillway Failures and Other Developments, has just been released, and it makes for a riveting read. The paper not only dissects Oroville's dire design and management problems in detail, but it also obliquely indicts America's engineering culture as insensitive to risk, championing a certain cowboy elan and get-her-done attitude over public safety. We recently spoke to B about his findings. The conversation has been edited and condensed for clarity. California. You investigated some of the nation's most spectacular disasters, including Hurricane Katrina, Deepwater Horizon, and the Challenger space shuttle. How would a major breach at Oroville compare to those incidents? And is such a failure even possible? And B says, yes, it is possible. And it would be worse than any of them. A breach at Oroville would send a wall of water down the Feather River through the Sacramento Valley and ultimately into the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta. It would destroy towns along the Feather and Sacramento rivers, flood major portions of Sacramento, and blow out levees throughout the Delta, permanently flooding much of the region. The huge government pumps near Tracy that send water to Southern California cities and farms would be incapacitated. There would be tremendous loss of life and property, and it would be years before a permanent water delivery system to the South State could be reestablished. Furthermore, it wouldn't necessarily take a tremendous amount of rain and uncontrolled releases, as we saw in February, to trigger such a failure. It could happen on a bright, sunny summer's day. The situation is that serious. And then here's the next question. You had expressed concern about Oroville's status prior to the spillway issues and evacuation. Is there anything you discovered in your most recent research that surprised you? And here's B's response. We were able to obtain some important documents and photographs we hadn't seen before, and we learned a few things that frankly shocked me. One thing I had always wondered about was the construction of the primary spillway. The original design specified construction on rock and concrete, but the documents confirmed it was built on graded fill. I'd always suspected something like that, but had never found any corroboration. Graded fill simply doesn't provide the strength and stability that rock and concrete provide. As we saw in February, when huge portions of the spillway were destroyed and tremendous erosion occurred. Next question. The report also concludes that DWR has been aware of Oroville's problems for many years, correct? And here's what B says. The main portion of the spillway that blew out is a section known as Station 3300. We found documents and photographs dating all the way back to 1998 inspection report that confirmed there were major problems with this section. Essentially, there were screams for help that went largely ignored. DWR tried patching cracks, even filling up voids, but on that structure, finding the hollow areas is like trying to find a stud behind a wall by tapping it with a hammer. There's a lot of room for error, and the repairs were far from adequate. Also, some of the patches actually trapped water, so it couldn't drain out, and that further compromised structural integrity. All this has been going on since at least 1998, so it's no surprise that things went wrong at Station 3300. Question. What else did you find that concerns you? Answer. There are very serious problems with the head gates, the structures that control water releases from the dam. There's a lot of corrosion, and there are large cracks in 2 gate control tendons. Some of the gates don't even open and close all the way. They're like refrigerator doors that just stay ajar. Also, we were alarmed by green grass growing on the abutments. That's because the grass shouldn't be green in that part of California during the summer and fall. It should be brown. So when you see lush green grass, it indicates there's seepage through the dam face. What's particularly worrisome is evidence we found indicating this seepage has been going on for about 50 years. DWR says that it's just some natural springs and that it's no cause for worry. But a natural spring in that area would have to flow uphill, which runs counter to the laws of physics. And understand this, any seepage through an earth-filled dam is extremely worrisome. Question. You've often talked about a certain laissez-faire attitude among engineers and bureaucrats regarding the risks of large infrastructure projects. How does that apply to Oroville? B's answer. First, rigorous state and federal guidelines exist for the risk-based management of dams. Some of them were issued by President Carter following the Teton Dam failure in Idaho in 1976, which killed 11 people and caused massive property damage. But they're simply being ignored. Dams should be viewed like nuclear power plants or jet airliners. With both nuclear plants and passenger jets, there is tremendous emphasis on managing and minimizing risks, and that's appropriate. But dams are treated like inert piles of dirt or concrete that have no potential for catastrophic failure, and that's simply not the case. Oroville isn't just a big dirt plug with a bunch of cows and corn downstream. If it failed, it would be the worst disaster in the history of the United States. The people at DWR are not bad human beings, but it's apparent to me that they're not up to the risk management challenges they're facing. Here's the next question. Governor Jerry Brown has just appointed Grant Davis as the new director for DWR. He was formerly the director of the Bay Institute and the Sonoma County Water Agency. In both positions, he was a strong advocate for environmental protections and sustainable water use. What do you think of him? Here's B's response. He's certainly an improvement over recent past directors, but he's no Admiral Hiram Rickover, widely regarded as the father of the U.S. nuclear submarine fleet, and a visionary engineer who promoted safety and risk aversion in both marine and terrestrial nuclear power plants. Davis has good environmental credentials, but I don't think he knows much about managing risk, and I'm not sure he has the guts to say what needs to be said to the people above him. I just don't think he has the capabilities we need at this point. Next question. So how should we address Oroville? Can it be repaired to the point that the risk it represents is acceptable? And here's B's answer. There are certainly things we should and must do. We did it with Folsom Dam on the American River, which was also showing danger signs, including on its spillway. It cost $1 billion, but we did it, and it is now stable for the foreseeable future. So we need to make the same serious commitment to Oroville, and that doesn't mean a quick patch job like we're now seeing, followed by an announcement that everything is okay. We need to convene independent experts and follow their recommendations. Right now, the response is ad hoc, and that's both inadequate and extremely dangerous. From the larger perspective, the problem with Oroville, with our entire water delivery infrastructure really, where there are multiple danger points, isn't concrete, steel, dirt, or water. It's people. Many of the people who are in decision-making positions don't have the expertise they need to make those decisions. Water is our most essential natural resource. We need it, but if you turn your back on it, it can kill you. We have to have people in power who understand that, who are willing to take the actions necessary to protect the public. And then the last question is, so what's next for you? Are you going to continue your work on Oroville? And B says, I don't think so. Both Tony and I are getting up in years, and candidly, I'm getting tired, a bit worn out. I'm running out of teachable moments. I'm usually an optimistic guy, but I'll be honest, what I found with Oroville has been deeply discouraging. Since word of our work has gotten out, we've had engineers and water managers contacting us from all around the country, and the basic message is, holy crap, we're having the same problems with our dams. Oroville is just the most obvious signal of a national systemic problem. So, I'll leave the link to that. There are other articles that they did interviewing him that you can look up and find. And now we're going to look at this next article. I may have to make a separate video for my earthquake report tonight. That's okay. I think this is important stuff. And people need to understand where we came from in order to understand what's going on right now. Now this is from Catholic.org, and the name of it is Will Oroville Spillway Gates Fail in Heavy Flows? Design Flaws and Fixes Risk Gate Binding. And this was written by Tony Johnson, who was Bob Bia's associate in doing that big investigation. So it was written by one of the guys who did the investigation. And this was published on June 19th, 2017. And this is a really good article because he's got pictures, and he puts it in layman's terms so that people can understand really what the problems were. And it's unbelievable. It's amazing. And so when you find in here that, DWR did not do what they were asked to do by FERC, and they basically lied to him and said that they had fixed things that were not fixed. And when you find this history, it's just hard to get much confidence instilled in what they're doing now, especially with the way they're handling this whole situation, and trying to tell the public everything's okay. But well, I'd like to see that inspection report, frankly, before I think that everything's okay. So I'm going to go over this article now. Let's see what clean view looks like. Oh, that's better. Let's see if our pictures show up. It's got a lot of references at the end. There are pictures that show up later on in the article, but we'll just go with this. Has DWR missed for over 40 years the accumulation of mud, debris, and silt that ended up jamming a radial gate? And the gates are up at the top. That's what they open to let the water flow through to lower the lake level. For many years, inspectors believed that extensive leaking from gates were normal. And they recently came out and said in a public announcement that seepage is normal, and it's not. What changed this belief in the failure of a binding gate during a test? Are the gate's closure to fail with these new findings? And here's where the spillway tore up in 2017. In 2007, during an official Federal Energy Regulatory Commission or FERC inspection, Radial Gate 4 jammed after only lifting 6 feet of its 33-foot travel. So this is 2007, 10 years before the accident, the disaster that happened. From the perspective that all components of the spillway radial gates are considered a high reliability system, what ensued in the subsequent engineering failure analysis report findings could only be read as an engineering nightmare. Quoting the report, during Federal Energy Regulatory Commission required operational testing, spillway gate number 4 would only open to approximately 7 feet, at which time the motor would trip offline from overload. Initial inspection found heavy galling marks on the right side wall plates as well as protruding bolts on the seal assembly directly adjacent to the wall plates. A bronze plate was also found between the wall and the seal. This plate was later to be determined to be a retrofit done in 1974. The seal assemblies were removed and disassembled. A large amount of mud and debris was found behind the seal. The seal inflation piping was completely filled with mud and debris also. One bronze guide shoe was damaged beyond repair. 2 main items were attributed to the gate binding. 1. Lack of maintenance caused the system to degrade and become clogged with mud and debris. 2. Due to irregularities in the seal assemblies, it appears they were not properly adjusted for the proper clearance over the entire length of the seal. This event uncovered an astonishing amount of damage, broken parts, and design issues so serious that it led to the complete refurbishment to all 8 of the spillway radial gates. These issues are considered FERC Category 1 failure modes that are of the highest rated level. Failures of radial gates have been known to lead to potential catastrophic outcomes, including dam failures. DWR's own report to FERC noted that a major cause was from lack of maintenance, which caused the system to degrade and become clogged with mud and debris. How could a high reliability system be neglected to the degree to where the accumulation of mud and debris became a contributing failure mode? How many years of this type of maintenance neglect of this mud and debris have been going on? 40 years? DWR engineers also discovered that silt had entered into the piping that pressurizes the rubber seals, rendering the inflation-deflation system inoperable. The hydraulically operated piping and rubber seal systems did not have any silt filtering nor any method of flushing the tubing for maintenance cleaning. This design flaw wasn't discovered for 40 years until Gate 4 failed. Apparently there was no maintenance inspection program, nor were there a DSOD inspection program of the hydraulic tubing systems that could have alerted engineers to this internal pipe and seal clogging issue. The most severe findings were loose bolts and heavy scraping wear on the stainless steel side plates and the bronze guide shoe bars. The stainless steel plates are embedded into the pure concrete column walls to form a smooth surface for the inflatable rubber seals, and the bronze guide shoes to slide upon. The scraping and galling marks were so significant that the stainless steel plate surfaces had to be repaired. How could DSOD or maintenance miss these dramatic scraping marks for so many years? It finally took a broken bronze shoe plate becoming jammed into the sidewall seam for the combined failure of Gate 4 to awaken DWR to these serious and numerous issues. DSOD did a special spillway inspection report soon after the Gate 4 failure and found that most of the gates had visible sign of galling or rubbing wear on the side seal stainless steel plates. DSOD and maintenance further discovered that the side seal assemblies were highly irregular, bent, unaligned, and were conducive to be imprecise to where seal leakage can be expected. Evidence suggests that DSOD inspectors had become accustomed to excessive gate seal leakage for many years. Yet this extensive leakage was considered normal. In a high reliability system, this should have triggered alarms, as the seals were designed to be watertight with minimal seepage. But this serious multi-gate failure mode was considered normal by the consistent satisfactory approvals in the decades of inspection reports. This is very difficult to fathom in a high-quality engineering background. Another alarming finding was the discovery of bending of threaded bolts to overcome an offset alignment problem in the manufacture of the original radial gates. Bending of threaded bolts are known to induce microfractures at the thread inflections that could develop into crack extensions to the point of failure. This should never occur in a high reliability system. In seeking to fix this issue, DWR Engineering replaced the bent bolts with J bolts, but found that the offset alignment would not make a secure mating surface for the J part of the bolt. Instead, DWR decided to use I bolts. The image infers that DWR inserted a slight spacer to account for the offset differential. This image is from the 2008 failure analysis report DWR provided to FERC. And it goes on and on. So you get the idea. I'm not going to read this whole thing. My stomach is already hurting as I'm reading this. And this is from Tony Johnson. And here's his last paragraph. We'll read that. Thus, a frozen radial gate failure condition could lead to scouring erosion of the cobble rock inlet apron as it drops below the 830-foot cutoff elevation. Erosion turbulence of the spillway inlet lip could begin a penetrating erosion at a deeper level to the foundation of the headworks. If any scouring erosion reaches any sections of the now known highly weathered rock or highly erodible rock, a piping channel may develop to the other side of the headworks. Then the risk of a V breach would develop. If the turbulent erosive flow continues, the V breach could enlarge to the point of compromising the headworks and possibly beneath or adjacent to the upper main spillway. At this point, it becomes a condition of where it is described as loss of crest control. Even if the flow is temporarily stopped, further spillway flows may intensify the prior erosion damage, leading back to the series of events that could end up again at loss of crest control. That's what they don't want. They don't want to lose control of that water up at the top. So, he's got lots of pictures in here. I thought he did. Oh, here they are. They're at the bottom. Here are the pictures that he's referring to. Figures. Here's how the things should work. Here's all the references. Where was it? Oh, here. The discovery of this significant flaw, which is the one he was just talking about up here, is after DWR has notified FERC that the full rehabilitation of all of the 8 radial gates had been completed. So, I don't know who they're trying to fool, but I'm going to read this last part. In this scenario, the emergency spillway, this is if they lost crest control, would become a major component. That's the emergency spillway is where it flows over on the side. would have to act as a redundant backup to the damaged main spillway apron, where the main spillway would likely have to be shut down. The emergency spillway is not designed to handle the higher flows of the main spillway until the planned 2018 construction season and the buttressing of the RCC layers and partial downhill apron. So maybe they did all that. Thus, it's possible that the emergency spillway would face a flow it was not designed for. This could lead to a repeat of February 12, 2017, where undercutting or backcutting of the armoring would only give more time to face the potential damages that nature would decide in the outcome. It may be that DWR is facing the perfect storm of unknowns, flaws, cracks, and a race against nature, as the headworks clearly seem to be going down the same path as what has happened leading up to the main spillway blowout failure. Maintenance, inspections, flawed engineering design issues, deferred known 50-year-old aging, and failing anchor tendons, and the lacking of expertise to the level of civil law and civil liability and the standard of care in the profession of a known standard of a high reliability system would be the perfect storm. Even if nature and conditions fare favorably on Oroville, the sum of the findings in engineering, maintenance, inspections, and the seeming lack of expertise to properly operate a high reliability system which cannot fail for the hundreds of thousands of lives in immediate risk may become America's Fukushima, fully preventable in hindsight. Only time will reveal if nature and favorable conditions will bless us. However, the American public should be made fully aware of the full extent of what has been allowed to develop. Americans should be made aware of how much risk was allowed to be shouldered and still is at a strong degree of unacceptable risk by the immediate downstream residents below this dam. A special note to FERC. Recently, 4 documents were specifically removed from your software search parameters on the FERC Advanced Search database. These 4 documents were key references to recent articles on the anchor tendons and on void fillings. The public documents are still on the database if a user knows how to do a generic search by a date window, but the specifics of removing these 4 documents from the text search box list is very specific and can only be deemed deliberate. For those who are interested, the documents that were masked from a keyword search on the document numbers are, and then they put the numbers. So, I'm going to end it there. You get the idea. So, they've had a lot of problems from the very beginning, and oversight was not done correctly, and they don't want to take responsibility, and they don't want liability, and they don't want lawsuits. And apparently there are lawsuits pending in this, and all I'm doing is reading from what's published from the independent investigators. That's what I'm reporting on. And so I think this is very important, and people need to be made aware of what's gone on in the past in order to make a decision for right here, right now. So I'm going to sign this off and make this a separate Oroville report. And I hope everyone is able to come to their own conclusions and make their own decisions about what they want to do. So until next time, God bless everyone. I wish everyone all the best. Take care. Good night.